Another week, another game. This week I head to the distant future to play Livelock. The game has everything that I love. Robots, robots fighting robots, robots in the future, shooting robots in the future. It's all great. It's another top-down shooter, which I didn't realize until I started playing it and noticed that I've been playing a lot of them lately. So in the game you can play as 3 different classes or chassis, as they call it, because you're a robot. And they fill the main roles, the main 3 roles that you find in games. You have your tank, you have your DPS, and your support. So you have your shooter, your healer, and your bullet sponge. Each of those classes or chassis have their power-ups that you can get through it throughout the game, and they have different abilities and skills that you can go and get and use. And it really is dependent on what kind of play style you want. You can have up to 3 people in a game, and you can kind of go in solo if you want. It's all up to you, different difficulties. It makes it kind of gives you some options there and makes that a lot of fun. And speaking of fun, I mean, the story is fantastic. Maybe it's part of me playing and watching too many things that made it slightly predictable, but I enjoyed how the story got there. Even up until it happened, I thought it could go one of 2 different ways, and I was like, no, this one seems to be the priority, this one seems to be the main thing that would happen in this scenario and make sense, and that's kind of what happened. Not saying that that's a bad thing at all. Again, I just play and notice way too many things. The combat in the game is very fluid, it's very succinct. You can see how many bullets you have. You gain stuff for your special weapons that you unlock throughout the game. You can power them up as well based on the carbon, as it's called in the game, and that allows you to go and boost your weapons up, so that's pretty cool. And it does have a lot of customization in the form of different helmets and colors and chest pieces, and they call alloys or your capes, so you can kind of customize how your character looks, which is really cool because it comes into the cutscenes as well, not the drawn cutscenes, because that's based on the 3 models that are on the cover art, as I'll call it. But you can kind of customize it so the other ones, and I always think that's kind of funny in games when they go and do that, and you can kind of see how your character looks and you can see how they react, and it's pretty nice. I mean, you can even find audio logs and different diaries, as they're called, throughout the levels, just to kind of expand on that story that exists. I really keep saying I like things in the games. I do. I mean, one of the things that I like is how open the story is and how open the world is. I mean, it does follow along a linear path. That's just something laid out with most top-down shooters, but even inside that path and inside that level, the level itself is very spacious, and you have a lot of things to explore, and there's some secrets in it, and that's where you really find the logs and the unlockables and those sorts of things, which makes it pretty nice and kind of expands it out, even though it's not that long of a game. So won't take that long to really go and beat it, but you can enjoy it with friends. You can make it into a competition so you can get more points, more kills, whatever you want to call it, but anyone who's a top-down shooter fan will absolutely love it. And that's all that I have for this week. Time for the hint. I went through 46 other possibilities before deciding on this one. See you next week.